great question. My practice currently is very much nature-based. I grew up learning about Wicca and witchcraft, and uh, at the time, I was taught quite incorrectly that there was only really one type of Wicca or witchcraft. And as I got older, I met lots of different people on lots of different paths. So there's a lot of different influences. I'm highly influenced by Irish mythology and spirituality, which obviously comes through in a lot of my writing. And I'm trying to learn a lot more of that from native Irish people now, so as to be more appreciative and less appropriative. And I'm also involved with the Covenant of Hecate, and that forms part of my daily practice as well, or regular practice. But at the moment, my daily practice involves a little bit of prayer, a little bit of affirmations, and just trying to get out into nature as much as possible and really sort of feel the turn of the seasons and watch the birds a lot and watch the insects and animals around. And yeah, just I think as I get older, I spend a lot more time being quiet and listening to the world around me, and then trying to write it down. Within the Pagan Federation, I'm the secretary for the Children and Families team, which resonates a lot with me because I've got, between me and my husband, we have 4 children, ages ranging from 4 to grown up. And while I'm not actively raising my kids to be pagan, obviously they see what I do, they see a lot of what I do. So it's what we're involved with the Pagan Federation Children and Families team is making sure that families who are pagan or who have pagans in their families, or kids who are learning about paganism and getting interested in that, have resources, have people to talk to, have activities to do. So at the moment, we've got the Aether Patches running, which is basically, if you think about scouts and doing tasks and getting patches, it's that, but for pagans, and that's really popular. I edit the Aether magazine as well, which is a twice yearly magazine for pagan families and kids. And we have crafts and recipes and activities. And now that everything's opening up again, sort of, I tentatively say post-pandemic, but it's better than it was. We're starting to get events back together again and stuff. So like in a couple of weeks, we're going to have a stall at a convention in Bradford where we'll be talking to parents and families about what resources are available to them. So yeah, we just try and stay involved in the community, listen to people and provide as many resources as possible. A writing regime, that indicates that I have any sort of semblance of structure or of any kind in my life, which is absolutely not the case at all. I'm diagnosed ADHD and I struggle to stick to any sort of structure because of that. I realise it affects everybody differently, but for me, any sort of daily structure is just out of the window. What I tend to find instead, because obviously I do write books, so it does happen, the work does get done, but it's in bits and bursts. I will have these amazing bursts of energy where I just sit and I'm like, right, gone to the world, doing it. But then I'm quite tired afterwards and I need a couple of days recuperation. But that works really, because in that recuperation time, that's when I'll spend time with the kids. That's when I'll go out for nature walks. That's when I'll take photos and just chill out. And that's when the inspiration comes. That's when the input comes in, which then gets churned around. And then when I get onto one of my hyper-focus stages again, it all comes out again. So yeah, not so much a regime as a sort of cycle of noise-cancelling headphones on, go at it for a few hours, and then a few days of just letting it all flow. The one book I'm going to choose, I'm going to show you it here, is my latest one, which is Planet Friendly Living, which is part of the Practically Pagan range. So it's an alternative guide to planet friendly living. I was absolutely delighted to be able to write this book. I absolutely believe that as pagans, spiritual people in general, you've got to have respect for the planet around you. You've got to be thoughtful about what you're consuming, how you're interacting with the world, and not damaging it any more than it's already getting damaged. So the opportunity to be able to write those thoughts down, expand on them, and give practical advice on ways that you can be a witch, a pagan, a druid, whatever type of spiritual path, whilst maintaining a sense of connection to nature, to the world, and actively being kind to it. That was like, it's like the dream for me to be able to write that book was absolutely amazing. And I think it is the one that encapsulates my ethos around paganism the most, that as humans, we're not separate from nature. We're a part of nature, and we need to act like it, really. We need to be a bit more responsible. And I think if you incorporate that into your spirituality, you can't help but be a more environmentally kind person. I do write my own material, yes. I love playing music. I've been into music since I was a kid, and I drive my husband up the wall because he says I'm really annoying because I'll pick up any musical instrument and just play it. Not well, but I can, anything that I've not played before, I can kind of pick up and get a tune out of it, and he says that drives him up the wall. But yes, I play guitar and I sing and I play keyboards, and I write a lot of different styles of music, but my biggest influences at the moment are kind of folk, soft rock, very sort of alternative styles. But I like a lot of the sort of older folk rock bands like Horselips and Fairport Convention and Steel Eye Span, and a lot of that. It's folk music, but you can bob your head along to it, and it's got a beat, and that really resonates with me. So yes, I write songs about deities, I write songs about spirituality, I write songs about bits and bats going on in the world. Politics creeps in there sometimes, and I write just about everyday things, everyday magic, animals, the seasons, and things like that. So yes, I've got a couple of songs out on Spotify at the moment, and I'm hoping to add to them before the end of the year. So keep an eye out for that. The musician one is actually the easiest. I would go David Bowie or Bowie. I just think everything he did was fantastic. Not saying that every song was amazing, but the whole evolution of character, of persona, constantly changing, constantly renewing himself. And it's like, I'll go back through his back catalogue every so often, and I'll hear something I've not heard before, and I'm like, oh, it's just amazes me. So yeah, really, absolutely influential, David Bowie. Writers for fiction is Neil Gaiman. I just think he is endlessly imaginative, effortlessly inclusive, and I've never read, seen, or heard anything by Neil Gaiman that I've not enjoyed. And for non-fiction, I would go with Morgan Daimler. Morgan's work is just the perfect balance for me between incredibly well academically sourced and highly interesting and entertaining. And that's what I aspire to. One minute, right? Okay. It's okay to say no. Boundaries are good. You are as weird as you think you are, and that's okay. You'll meet lots of people who are also as weird as you are, and you're not lazy. You've got ADHD, and you'll be fine. That interest started when I was a kid, I think, and has grown from a sort of basic foundational rather than basic, a foundational love of animals and nature, as a child, which then grew into understanding more about ecology and the environment sort of as a teenager and in my 20s, into actively wanting to make a difference, actively seeing that there's quite a lot going wrong in how humans are treating the planet. What can we do to make a difference? And it goes back to a little bit about what I said about my thoughts behind writing the Planet Friendly Living book, in that humans are not separate from nature. Humans are a part of nature. And I think, and this is a generalization, not everybody thinks like that, but as a race, we've forgotten that. We've forgotten that we are a part of nature. When we mess up nature, we're causing problems for ourselves as well, even if that's in the long run. And I think what we have to do as a society, as communities, as a wider society, and as a race, is to drive home over and over to corporations and to governments and to anybody that has the power to actually make major changes, that yes, what we are doing is going to mess up the human race for generations to come. It's, even if you can't think about it in terms of please be kind to the earth, please be kind to other animals, please be kind to the ecosystem, we should be doing it for ourselves as well. We are already getting into times when we're seeing hotter summers than ever before, or we're seeing areas that are actually getting colder because warm currents are moving away because of rising sea levels and stuff, and we're seeing more storms than ever. And last year we ran a campaign to raise money for displaced horses in Greece, because the wildfires in Greece ripped through this horse sanctuary, and it was devastating. And thankfully they've raised enough money to keep going, and they're still working out there and everything. But the place is, I mean, it's just like, it used to be like all lush trees and stuff, and now there's just like charred stumps, and it's shocking. I think when you are aware of what climate change is doing to the planet, you suddenly realise, wow, actually, yeah, change needs to happen, and it needs to happen fast. So I think that, yeah, it's always been there, but definitely, certainly over the past 2 decades, and more so over the past decade, it's just that discovering and learning more about what humans are actually doing to the world. I don't think it can help but drive you to want to talk about it and to make changes. I think for the god, let's have Loki. I reckon there's going to be some great over dinner stories, probably quite a bit of gossip, and I think they would be a brilliant dinner guest. For the goddess, see, that's much harder, because a lot of the goddesses I've interacted with on my own path are kind of quite a bit intimidating, really. She'd want to actually have them over for dinner. Okay, seeing as we're having Loki as the god, let's have Hel as the goddess. They're family, so that's, there's the familiarity there to start with. Also, Hel gets a bad rap, I think, and actually, in a lot of ways, Hel's actually associated with kindness, because they rule the land of the dead that takes in the people that die of old age and sickness, and promises them a place, and promises them lodgings and somewhere to be looked after. So I think that's pretty cool, actually. So yeah, Loki and Hel, they're my dinner guests. My top tip for anybody who wants to write, read as much as you write, if not more. I think you find your style when you read a lot of different writers. I think if you only read a little, and you only read one author or one particular style or genre of writing, I think you can end up inadvertently emulating that and not finding your own voice, or failing to grow and expand as a writer, potentially. I think when I'll read a lot of different styles of writing, a lot of different authors, a lot of different genres. Obviously, don't read stuff that you don't like just for the sake of it, but explore, get recommendations, talk to people about books that you might find interesting, and just when you can, read as much as you can, because you'll learn more about your craft from reading other authors than you will from just writing the same type of stuff over and over again. So read as much as you write. I think that's the top tip.